Hello everyone, my name is Yuri from Mouse, and we are here with a special event track guide. This time for the Watkins Glen 6 hours. We're here with the new car, the Corvette Z06. It's a really nice car to drive here, and as you might have been able to see, it jumps over the curbs quite well, which is something we might need because for this special event occasion, iRacing updated the curbs and the 3D mesh of the track. But especially the curbs is what you'll feel, because they are quite a lot bigger, especially in the chicane. Right, so without further ado, let's get into it and see how we can survive the chicane and the rest of the track for the whole 6 hours. Right, so here we are. End of the lap, on a cloudy but still quite hot Watkins Glen. We're running full tank, it's 100%, and we're on the new Corvette Z06. Car drives pretty nice here, but we have mid-corner understeer. Turn 1, 200, get to the inside. Try to use all of the curb on the exit here. And we have a lot of initial turn-in with this car, but mid-corner we have understeer, so we have to use this initial turn-in to point the car. And as some of you might have noticed already, the curbs are big 3D curbs here now. They changed it, and if you haven't noticed, you'll see here. Get to the inside, but keep the speed up over the curbs, and keep as much in the straight line as you can. Keep the car rotated to the inside, like just before the exit road on the right. We're on to apex late on the uphill here. Use the camber for a good exit. Next corner we want to brake just before the tire marks. And we can run all the way right on the exit here. Late to second gear. Small lift here on the entry to get the car to rotate. And then close to the wall on the exit for the last corner. That's the lap around Watkins Glen. So a closer look from the outside cam. Right, so here we are, start the lap. For turn 1, we want to get close to the white line, as usually on Watkins Glen. We have to be careful to not follow the gas, because the track gets a bit narrow just before we brake. It's quite sneaky. So we go on the white line on the left side and make sure that we follow the grass after it gets narrow. We look at the 200, and in the Corvette it's quite tricky here. Normally you want to get the car to rotate, and it bites at the turn-in point here at the bottom of the track, and we go up again. The Corvette, however, it wants to rotate a lot, as you can see on the entry, but when we get to mid-corner it tends to push wide immediately. So you really have to use this rotation on the entry to get the car pointed the right way, so we can be on throttle at the bottom here without understeering too wide. And you can see it happening here. The moment I want to go on throttle, the car immediately points exactly straight. So you have to be careful going onto the power here. And you'll see that coming back quite a few times around this track. We really have to use that initial rotation, because mid-corner, the car really lacks that rotation. Then we get to the biggest change on the track with the new 3D curbs, the chicane. It used to be that if you run very close to the wall on the right side here, the curb was kind of flat, and the cars would glide over it. Not anymore. The cars jump all over the place. The curb here seems to be as big close to the apex as it is close to the wall, which didn't used to be the case. Which means that we want to position our car and go over the curbs in as much of a straight line as we can. Because again, the car can bounce to the left or the right side if we hit that. If we try to hit it in the right, straight angle, the car will just bounce forwards and keep going straight. I brake just after the 300, and then still we try to apex late and aim for this inside wall here. Try to get as close to the wall as possible. And then from this point here, as you can see, it used to be that the car, if we're close to the wall, didn't get much airborne. But the car's all 4 tires from the ground here. You can see, but because we go onto the curb in quite a straight line, we did our turning already. I can hold the wheel pretty straight. The car doesn't bounce weirdly to left or right side. Doing this, from here, we want to make sure that we hit this curb not too early. And the biggest goal we have in the chicane is hitting the 3rd apex, this one, on the inside curb without running too wide. That means we want to brake here, turn as much as we can before hitting the curb. So when we hit the curb here, we can keep it tight. And we want to hit a bit of this patch of tarmac on the inside here. If you can't hit this patch of tarmac before the curb starts on the inside left of the yellow line, you know you've gone in too fast or with the wrong line. So if you go with the wrong line, meaning you turn in too early for the first right-hander, then you end up too far to the left side and you end up too far to the right side for the 3rd apex. Or too fast, meaning that you have the right line here, but you overshoot this curb and end up too far to the right side. And if you do that, you're going to lose too much time on the exit of the chicane here. So I want to run as much on the tarmac as we can on the left side. And as you can see, I'm turning quite a lot here over the curb because we're almost missing it. And you can immediately see the car bounces more than it did over the first 2 curbs. And it's quite unstable. You can see here as well. We don't have that exact right line anymore. We're turning more over the curb, and the car can bounce immediately to the left or the right side. So the straighter you hit the curbs, the more straight the car will stay over the curbs as well. The more you're turning, the more you're trying to rotate the car over the curbs, the more unpredictable the car will get, and the more you have to correct the car. Alright, so we made it to the chicane. Then we get to the next tricky corner, the carousel. In the Corvette here, it means that we really want to point the car before we go back on power. If you don't get this rotation in the car before you go back into the power, the car will just go straight and straight and you'll end up somewhere in this wall or lifting. So we want to get that rotation, let the car roll into the corner, get the rotation, and once you have the rotation, the car will keep rotating through the corner. Make it over to the right side. We brake just before this bit of tarmac on the right side, that's our marker. Make it to the inside, and again the car can be quite twitchy on corner entry. So I want to make sure that we're braking as much in a straight line as we can. And again, back on the power. These curbs here are a bit higher, but you don't really feel it too much. We get to this tricky upper right-hander. It's quite tricky to have a reference here. I think after you're used to driving and if you find the line up the hill, you kind of just look at the corner and find your braking. If you're just starting and you want to find the reference though, you can either look at the 100 and 200 sign on the left, or what I like to do is make sure that I start turning in before this line here curves to the left side. So I brake it a bit before that, and then when this line curves to the left side, I start turning in. And we just slowly release the brake up the hill. We don't want the apex too early. We want to use this camber in the middle of the road. And in the middle of the corner we can go back on power quite early and apex really late. And that way we can still run up the hill here without understeering. If you go into the corner, if you take the apex too early, if you go into the power too early, this grass here is where you're going to end up understeering onto. So we want to use this camber here to get the rotation, to go back on the power and not understeer too wide onto the grass. And we get to the last sector of the track. This corner here for me is always tricky when I'm right behind another car to find the braking zone. When I'm driving by myself though, it's quite easy. It's just before these tire markers. If you're behind another car, you can also use this 200 marker here, but the 200 is a bit too early for what I like to look at. So just before the tire markers here, down 2 gears, and then on throttle really early, because again we can use all of the runoff on the left side here. None of this is an off track. I make it to the right side and we get to another corner, uphill, tricky without a reference exactly on where to turn in. And again, I'm using this white line here and it has a bit of a bend in it when it turns to the right. I'm using this bend, looking at that, and just before I get to that bend, I tap on the brakes, slowly down on the gears. If you go too quick to second gear, the car can be quite twitchy. So I like to be second gear only at the apex. And all the way right. And then this corner, it's about how you can carry the most amount of speed through the corner. Some cars here will really oversteer. So you would want to lift before you get to the corner. The Corvette understeers a lot. So we want to lift. At the moment we want to get the rotation. We want to get as much rotation here as we can. So right after we turn in, we lift, try to get all of that weight on the front end. And once we have the rotation, we can go back on power. You can run wide here. The off-track only starts at the end of the curb or very, very far to the outside here. You can run with 2 tires over the curb here, all the way on the tarmac without getting an off-track, as long as you're back before this curb ends. And we want to bring it back to the left side, open up the last corner, tiny tap on the brakes, down 1 gear, and then try to point the car again to the exit, so you can throttle early. Be careful of this sudden understeer of the Corvette. And then close to the wall on the exit, and that's a lap around Watkins Glen. Alright, so there we go. That's how we drive on the Watkins Glen. Very nice occasion, I think, to test out the new car. Or the Mustang as well, but I think the Corvette suits this track tiny bit better so far. It's nice to drive. The new curbs really made the track come alive, I think. It added quite a lot of difficulty in the chicane, if it wasn't difficult enough yet. Gonna be interesting though. Always a nice special event to do, so I would recommend doing it, and it's a good opportunity to test out the new cars, as I said. If you want to see more track ads like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys for the next one.